This is Tech Talk with Bwana, episode 292. Never turn left. Welcome to Tech Talk with Bwana. This technology podcast covers tech news and reviews for the entire week. And now here's your host, me, Bwana McCall. Greetings, folks, and welcome to episode 292 of the Tech Talk with Bwana. We got a great show lined up for you. 7 stories to talk about today, and I hope you all had a great week so far. And I also hope that you have a great weekend coming up. I know I will. I got a lot of things planned. Actually, I don't have anything planned at all. I just want to sound important there, and I actually did for a second, but then I felt sad, and then I stopped feeling important. I felt sorry for myself. And I'm going to see a psychiatrist tomorrow. I'm not telling the truth right now. This is Tech Talk with Bwana. We talk about the latest tech news for the week. We find the best tech news that we can all over the web. And we discuss those stories and then we talk about them for probably 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. The show is on soundcloud.com/BwanaTV and also on youtube.com/Bwana. You'll find a video of this thing. You're probably catching it on there. If you're not, I'm happy because I'm glad you're finding it somewhere. But anyway, we got a great show lined up for you for episode 292 of Tech Talk with Bwana. Let's get right to the news. And for our first story, we're going to talk about Amazon. And Amazon is oddly enough the forefront and the lead runner and the load runner and all kinds of runners that I can't even think of right now in the realm of voice-activated home devices. And they were one of the first to the market in terms of, big companies like Google and Microsoft to do this with their Alexa device and Alexa, I guess you can call it Alexa platform. And it was kind of, the Amazon Echo was a device that was sold. And it was kind of one of those things that people looked at with a raised eyebrow going, okay, what kind of gimmick is this? And now it's kind of catching on with other companies. You're seeing Google, you're seeing Microsoft and all these other people coming up with these home assistants, these always on listening devices. But one of the things that I found very, very cool about these devices is that it felt very sci-fi. And I think Amazon feels the same way because in their latest update, in this latest story from Engadget, they have introduced a new wake word. This is a word that you use to essentially get to the attention of the device. The word is computer. Now, what does that mean, Bwana? Well, if you ever watch Star Trek, you probably know that the wake word on Star Trek shows was computer. Computer, show me analysis of blah, blah, blah. Computer, scan this target. Computer, blah, blah, blah. Amazon is now adding a computer as a wake word. So every Trekkie out there, I guarantee you, is probably looking at this a little bit different. You can now pretend you're in the Star Trek universe with the Amazon Echo and the Alexa platform. Now, like I said, man, Amazon is like on the forefront of this. They're the leader right now. Google Home is trying to catch up. Microsoft's trying to catch up, even though I think Microsoft had this stuff in the incubator like years ago with the smart home. I remember even when Bill Gates was still there, they were talking about this stuff, but they really haven't put anything in the market yet. The Amazon Alexa platform is, however, in the market, and Trekkies around the world are budgeting to get themselves an Amazon Echo so they can go, computer, how much are tickets to the latest Star Trek movie? Computer, please give me the latest weather forecast. Computer, what time is it in Belgium? Computer, people are going to be going nuts with this. Check it out, guys, over on Engadget.com. They got the details about this, about the new Alexa wake word computer, which takes all the Trekkies into the future, the Amazon Echo. And for our next story, we're going to talk about Google Voice, and thankfully the application has finally got an update. One of the most neglected Google apps in some time has gotten a facelift, according to this article on The Verge, and was published by Google Blog. Google Voice gets a new look for its first major update in years. And some of the features that they're going to be adding they look really good. It looks very modern. This is a quote from the Google blog post. Your inbox now has separate tabs for text messages, calls, and voicemails. Conversations stay in one continuous thread. So you can easily see all your messages for each of your contacts in one place. Photo MMS is now supported by Google Voice on all platforms across pretty much all the carriers. You now see images in your conversations, and firing one off as easy as any other texting app, and you don't have to do any weird email conversions like you did before. Group conversations are labeled very clearly, and Spanish transcriptions are now supported in voicemails. So a lot of things that were also included or required to have Hangouts are included in Google Voice now, like group texting. So you don't have to have Hangouts like you did in the past. So it looks like Google is moving forward with voice. Can't say the same about Hangouts. I don't know what the future of Hangouts is going to be. A lot of social media stuff in Google is very much up in the air. We've seen them abandon whole projects and whole big projects that have, thousands and thousands of users, and they just drop it like a bad habit. So I don't know where Hangouts is going to go, but it looks like Google Voice has got a new shot in the arm, and it's a service that I know a lot of people use, and it was sadly getting neglected. And I used to jokingly give them a warning. I'm like, remember Google Reader. Remember Google Reader. It's like Google will cut it like a bad habit. Another thing I found in this article is that RCS messaging, which is rich communication services, will be added in voice as well. And that's already been used in a lot of organizations. But they have their own custom messenger apps for this, these rich communication apps, like iMessage and, Sprint's app and other bunch of people that have these apps out there. So the Google Voice updates will first launch today or yesterday on Android. Actually, this article is from the 23rd, so it already launched. Followed by an iOS in a couple days, and I believe both are out right now. Once your mobile app is updated, the web client will automatically change over to the new design. So it's going to be a slow rollout. Everybody will have it in a couple weeks, so if you don't have it yet, you'll have it soon. So check it out, guys. Over on TheVerge.com, Google Voice gets a shot in the arm, finally getting an update after many, many years of stagnation. And for our next story, we're going to talk about Samsung and the results of their investigation of their battery explosions with the Galaxy Note 7. We all remember that. That was a really, really bad time for Samsung. And they're kind of in damage control right now because the brand is under fire. They've lost a lot of consumer trust. This is known worldwide. Anybody who's everybody probably has heard about this story about how the Samsung Galaxy batteries just spontaneously combusted and were a big, big hazard. So what they found out and what they put out and what I'm going to refer to is this infographic, which I think is a great idea. Infographics are one of my favorite ways to consume seemingly complex information into a series of photographs and annotations to make something that's seemingly complicated easy to understand. And after reading this a couple times, I think I got it. So what they have here in this infographic is two different sections about both of the batteries. If you recall, there was a first recall with the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, and then there was a second one. Oddly enough, and what's cool about this is that there's similar problems, but in different ways. So it's almost like I after reading this, I'm kind of shocked, and because the first problem had to do with the negative electrode deflections that were happening, and apparently they were deflected and they caused some shorts, if you will. I guess they're called shorts. But these negative electrodes were bent per se, and they were supposed to be flat or not deflected. And they showed two different cross sections of how it looked and how it was supposed to look. Essentially, it looks like it was cut too long, and the length was too long, and it kind of deflected, and it caused a problem. And they have pictures of the normal and the abnormal. And on the second battery, it was almost a similar type of thing, but it was in a different area. It was like, it says high welding burrs on the positive electrode resulted in penetration of the insulation tape. So both of these are both manufacturing / engineering problems. And the second one definitely looks like it was rushed. And there were some batteries that were missing insulation tape. They just didn't have insulation tape at all. So I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, this is supposed to restore consumer faith in Samsung, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, these are some really, really blatant bad designs. And the fact that they got out, the fact that they got in consumer hands and basically gave us a potential burning electronic device in our hands and pockets due to this kind of stuff, I still don't trust the brand, and it actually lessens my trust now that I know why. These are some really, really bad things that are being shown here, and it makes me think of how many companies out there actually go through this kind of stuff with recalls, but they don't tell us why. Makes me a little bit scared. So in essence, now that Samsung's getting ready to start their really big marketing campaigns for the next line of phones. So getting this out there is important. So I think Samsung's making the right choices. I think they're making the right decisions in terms of damage control. Everything's been handled, I think, in the best way possible. I think you've got some blatant and gross incompetence in areas of Samsung's company, but the damage control and the people in charge of what's happening now, these are top notch. This is some good stuff that's happening. Sadly, those people don't design the products. That's what consumers have to keep in mind, is that, you're seeing some good stuff coming out of Samsung, but these people don't design the products. They're, damage control they don't work behind the scenes. They don't manufacture this stuff. They don't engineer the manufacturing process. They don't engineer all this stuff to make sure that these phones don't blow up again. The incompetence is behind the scenes. So you have to keep that in mind. Samsung is doing really good. I mean, they're communicating and everything, but those communication people don't design the phones. So this is very, very, very troubling. And I told people, even when this happened, I said, I'm definitely not getting a Samsung phone for next phone. And I don't know if I'll ever get a Samsung phone now. It's just, I wasn't a big fan of the phone to begin with, so it's not easy to, it's not hard to come to that conclusion. But I know there's some Samsung faithful out there. They're like, oh, I'm going to give them a second chance. I'm going to see what they say and what they, I caution against that. Brand loyalty is one thing, but when your life or, essentially really, really, really bad injury is possible. I'm not going to say death, but you could lose a limb. Let's just think about that for a second. You could lose a limb with this device or any of their devices. So brand loyalty is one thing, but I'm not willing to lose an arm for it. I think people need to put technology in perspective. So check this story out, guys. Samsung's blog or Samsung's site has a great infographic as to why the phone batteries were exploding. And I guess the question for you is, do you still trust Samsung enough to buy their new products? And are the engineering teams going to make the same mistakes twice? Check it out, guys. And while we're on the topic of recalls, actually, we're not on the topic of recalls. I just wanted to segue there and make it. Again, I'm trying to sound cool, man. HP, Hewlett-Packard, my former employer, has added another 101,000 laptops to an existing battery recall. This comes by way of PCGamer.com, but you can find it all over the web. HP is expanding the recall of several laptop models over concerns that the lithium-ion batteries can overheat and catch fire. This is an additional 101,000 laptops to the 41,000 units that were deemed potentially defective in June 2016. Check this out, bringing the total number to 142,000 notebooks. That's quite a bit. And there's a lot of models. There's the HP Compact, HP ProBook, HP Envy, Compact Presario, and HP Pavilion models. And there's a bunch of serial numbers that you can check to see if your battery is affected. You look at the battery code on the back of the battery, and they have a bunch of codes. They have a bunch of codes listed here that are affected. And according to this article, so far HP has received a single report of an additional battery overheating and causing $1,000 in property damage due to charring. Wow. Wow. They set up a battery recall site so you can go and get that done. Typically what they do is they send you a prepaid package, and you just put your battery in there, and pretty much they'll send you a new one. So check the story out, guys. This is pretty big. That adds a lot of numbers. 41,000, then all of a sudden it's 100,000 more. And again, batteries, man, lithium ion. This is a scary thing. That's why, I mean, I look at, this is a kind of a segue, but I look at things like electric cars and like the very popular Tesla models. And if you look at the design of those cars, like I used to watch a show called How It's Made, and it's like a vast majority of the bottom of the car is a giant battery. Now, in modern society, even today, you know, car engines are pretty much just controlled bombs. So we're driving along with explosions under our hood going on. So the fact that the Tesla has a giant battery on it that could explode at any minute, it really shouldn't surprise me. It really shouldn't make me a little bit concerned, but I am concerned. But there's a lot of recalls, man. If you look at over the years of how many companies and how many sites and how many devices have had battery recalls due to overheat or potential danger, you probably would look at it a little bit differently. I think people shrug it off. They're just like, battery. Meh, it blows up. Meh, it causes fire. Meh, it blows up the entire state of insanity. But check it out, guys. Over on PCGamer.com, they got the details about this story. HP, and there are 101,000 additional laptops added to this recall because of defective batteries. Man, oh man. And for our next story, we're going to talk about Vivaldi, which is a browser that I have been trying lately. And not necessarily the actual software, but the CEO has gone on record basically calling out Microsoft. Stop your anti-competitive practices with Edge, Microsoft. And he's referring to Microsoft's browser on Windows 10 called Microsoft Edge. The thing that he hates is that the browser is made the default browser after you upgrade Windows to Windows 10. This is a quote from his post. He says that every time Windows 10 upgrades, it changes the default browser to Edge. Same thing tends to happen when a new browser is installed. For some reason, it leads to restoring Edge as the default option. Not the new browser, not even a browser that was there as default previously. Microsoft has made it complicated for a non-technical user to bring their old default browser back. So that is something, man. That is something. And I when I first read this, I misread the word as update, because I was like, wait a minute, Microsoft doesn't do anything to your default browser when you update Windows. Because whenever I see stories about Microsoft and Windows 10, it's all about Windows Update. Everybody complains about Windows Update. But this has to do with the upgrade, the Windows upgrade. So if you go from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10, that's what people are talking about. And I think it actually happens too for the major updates of Windows. I haven't, like when I updated to Anniversary Edition, I think it upgraded. I think it changed my default browser there as well. But he concludes this with a simple question and a simple demand. He says, where has the user's absolute prerogative to make a choice gone? It's time to do the right thing, stop stealing the default browser, accept user choice, and compete on the merits. Very well said. And it actually makes me a little bit nostalgic, because this, I remember back in during the Microsoft, the anti-competitive deal, well, whatever, the Senate, the hearing that they had, the monopoly case, where Microsoft was put under fire. Some of you may not have been alive when this happened, but when Internet Explorer was just like the default everything in Windows, it was like you had to do a lot of things to get rid of that browser. I'm telling you, Internet Explorer was everywhere in Windows, and a lot of people, including back then, it was all about Mozilla and Firefox and all those browsers back then, Netscape, and a bunch of competitors were very, very adamant about Microsoft basically ruining the default browser experience. This is before Google Chrome was even probably conceived. So like I said, some of you may not have been alive back in these days. But this brings back memories of that, because Microsoft was very bullish back then. And they were very, very aggressive with pushing Internet Explorer onto your face. They even called the browser the internet. Like the icon on the desktop wasn't called Internet Explorer. It was called the internet. I remember that. And I was like, oh, there's the internet right there. If I want to go to the internet, I have to use the browser called Internet Explorer. But anyway, this is well said. I mean, it's very succinct, it's not disrespectful, it's factual. There's nothing in here that I see as being personal. It's purely saying what this guy in this last sentence is saying. Do the right thing. Stop stealing the default browser. Pretty much what they're doing. Accept user choice and compete on the merits. Well said. So this article actually prompted me to check out Vivaldi because I hadn't looked at it for a very long time. And I got to say, as a side note, it's actually pretty solid. I had to do a little investigating on how to get some extensions to work. Like I had to get LastPass and some other things on here. But it's pretty good so far. So yeah, compete on the merits. Let's stop stealing the default browser. Check it out, guys. This is over on betanews.com. The Vivaldi CEO wants Microsoft to stop stealing the default browser on upgrades. What do you think? And for our next story, we're going to talk about Gmail. Gmail, which is Google's email application, if you haven't heard of it, and I'll be shocked if you haven't, will now soon block JavaScript file attachments and when you try to compose a message. And they're doing this to reduce malicious attacks. This is according to the article over on TheVerge.com. According to the article, on February 13th, Gmail is now going to block .js files. These are JavaScript files, and they're doing that, again, to block any kind of malware. If a user downloads a malicious JavaScript file, according to the article, it can be used to do all kinds of stuff, including gain access to your machine. It joins .exe, .bat, and .msc files as types that are restricted from being shared as a direct attachment. And Google advises that if you must share this, you should use Google Drive or Google Cloud Storage. Another cool thing, which caught me by surprise, is that you can't hide them in a zip file either. So if you try to compress it into a zip file, it'll block it anyway. Now, that's how, like when I used to do stuff for work, and, some email providers used to block certain attachments like Doc and, and going back to the macro virus days, they used to block like Excel spreadsheets. Anything Microsoft Office used to be blocked, and we used to zip them up to kind of send them. Even exe files, if I need to send some sort of a program or some sort of an executable or a utility to somebody, I would zip it up and send it. Nope. This JavaScript, if you zip it up, it will still block it. So that's actually kind of cool, but a little bit inconvenient at the same time. But now we're living in an age where you can easily share files on Google Cloud, on Google Drive, on Dropbox, and all different types of file sharing services out there. So the need to email attachments is all but gone now. I think the primary reason I email attachments now are PDFs. If I need to send a document or a signed document, email is a good way to authenticate the sender in some ways. There's even sites out there now that you do e-signing and stuff on, but it's a good way to send like PDFs and stuff. But other than that, I don't send much attachments via email. Images, yes. Images are another type. But if you think about it, the age of email attachments is great. It's like you really don't need them anymore. I'm still a big email user. I prefer email over Twitter direct messages, over SMS, over any type of instant messaging. I still prefer email because I feel it's a more, I won't call it secure, but I think it's a more trusted form of communication for what I do. I'm not like freaking like James Bond or anything, or I don't require high levels of security. But I still prefer email for that stuff because I've been talking about Twitter on this podcast for quite a while. Twitter is in trouble, man. People rely on Twitter DMs for everything. It's like you rely on these services that could come and go, but email is here to stay for a very, very long time. So check it out, guys. If you want to send somebody a JavaScript email attachment starting February 13th, you're not going to be able to do it. I'm pretty sure, though, you probably have another way of sending them that file. But check it out anyway on TheVerge.com. They got the details. And for our final story, we're going to talk about UPS. What? This is not what can Brown do for you, techtalk.com with Bwana.gmg.png.exe. What are you talking about, Bwana? No, I'm going to talk about UPS. This is a pretty fun article. Why UPS drivers don't turn left. You probably have heard about this. Some people call it an urban myth. Some people say it's not true, but it actually is true that UPS drivers don't turn left. It's like they always make right turns. And a lot of people feel like this is a waste of time and gas and money because they end up taking longer routes. But this article kind of points out, and I actually believe the science behind it, is that you actually end up, saving gas and saving a lot of money by just turning. Don't turn left. Just make all right turns. Now in the U.S., if you're in another country, this might be reversed. But in the U.S., if you need to turn left, most times you are turning into oncoming traffic, which means that you're either sitting at a light or you're waiting for traffic to come on. You're making a left turn. So you're sitting there idle and you're wasting time. You're also wasting gas. But if you keep moving and you keep turning right, most times in the U.S., you're going to keep moving, even though you may be taking a longer turn. So this is a very, very cool thing. Let me see if I can find a quote here. It says UPS has designed a vehicle routing software to eliminate as many left-hand turns as possible in countries with right-hand traffic. Typically, only 10% of the turns are left turns. As a result, the company claims it uses 10 million gallons less fuel, emits 20,000 tons less carbon dioxide, and delivers 350,000 more packages every year. The efficiency of planning routes with its navigation software this way has helped the firm cut the number of trucks it uses by 1,100, bringing down the company's total distance traveled by 28.5 miles despite longer routes. And this was on Mythbusters. I don't know if you guys saw the Mythbusters article. So what they did was that they tested the idea and they confirmed that despite many more turns, the policy of only turning right does indeed save fuel. In their one truck experiment, they travel further, but when you scale this up to a global level, UPS really does travel a few miles in total. This article's over on theconversation.com, and I thought it was very, very fascinating because when you think about it on the surface, all right, when you think about it on the surface, it's just like, wait a minute, if you just never make left turns, you're going to just be going all over the place. So you're going to be wasting gas, and you're going to be wasting time. But in reality, it comes down to the facts. It's true. When you only make right turns, you save gas, you save money. Makes you want to do that in real life now. You probably want to do that. You know what Google Maps should do? And every other map programs, they should have the option. Only right turns. If they don't already. Do they already have that? If they do, I might try that one day or a month to see how much gas I save. But check it out, guys, over in theconversation.com. This is why UPS drivers don't turn left. And maybe you shouldn't either. And that concludes episode 292 of Tech Talk with Bwana. I want to thank everybody for listening. Please follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Bwana, where you can follow me and my musings about what's going on, essentially when I go live at twitch.tv/Bwana, where I stream every day video games and production. Where I stream myself producing this podcast and game chat with Bwana. We do that every morning, every Tuesday and Thursday mornings here. Tuesday, we do Game Chat with Bwana. Thursday, we do Tech Talk with Bwana. Also, follow my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Bwana. This is where I post these videos. We post our videos for Game Chat with Bwana, Tech Talk with Bwana, as well as other videos when I get the time to make them. Hopefully, going to be making more time for those in the future. SoundCloud.com/Bwana TV if you want the audio form of this podcast and Game Chat with Bwana. Produce every Tuesday and Thursday again. We're coming up on our subathon in the next week or so, probably next weekend. We're going to be having our subathon on twitch.tv/Bwana. We do a 12-hour show to try to drive up our subs, raise awareness about my shows and about my content on the interwebs. So I hope you guys can join us when that occurs. All right, guys, everybody have a great day. I'll see you all next time. This is Tech Talk with Bwana 292, and that's a wrap.